Okay, welcome today to Kaipara Council's full council meeting, 27th November 2024. Thank you for all members for attending today. Having said that, are there any apologies? No apologies, right. Confirmation of the agenda, I'll move that. Can I have a seconder?
Can second it.
Thank you, Ash. All those in favour say aye. Okay, conflict of interest. Is any conflicts of interest to be declared today? Nope. No public forum today. Okay, confirmation of the open minutes, 30th October 2024. I'll move that. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Rachel Williams. All those in favour, raise their hand and say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Annual report 2023-224, 4.1 for adoption. Before we have a mover for this, Jason Maris, CEO, would like to talk to it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll get the team to come up and just want to acknowledge we have our auditors online as well, and we'll give them an opportunity to speak today as well regarding the annual report. We're just going to do a slight tweak to the recommendation, and I'll get Jesse to explain why in a sec. But effectively, we are going to look at C, memory. I'm going to see if I can pull that up. Yeah, if you could put it up there. So adopts the annual report 23-24 provided at attachments A and B, which is what is in the agenda. And then C will be the first bit, including an additional note, hyphen note 21, disclosure of breach of statutory deadline, and brackets tabled at this meeting. Okay, so there is a bit of history to this though, and a bit of court order needed. So what I'll do is I'll just hand over to Jesse to talk to that particularly, and then we'll go from mover and seconder and then introduce the rest of the item, perhaps. Jesse, if you could.
Planned it to be talked about my item, but that's okay. Basically, when repealing the Three Waters legislation, central government tried to recognise the pressure on councils to do this work and extended statutory deadlines, which we did think included us and this annual report, as we were significantly affected by this repeal, and we had sought legal advice to confirm this position. However, as noted, we had our application of this legislation reviewed by the Office of the Auditor General as a matter of course in the audit, and they did not agree that the timing extension was available to cyclone affected councils, because Kaipara District Council prepared a 3-year LTP and the extended deadline legislation only referred to 10-year LTPs. So this is just a situation of needing to follow the letter of the law, and those doubly impacted councils affected by both cyclones and Three Waters were technically not part of the exemption. So that means we are adopting our annual report outside of statutory deadlines, and we're adding that additional paragraph that you've been provided with.
A question from Ash Nair, followed by Pera Paniora.
I always look at we make a mistake and can we learn from it. So was it possible, like we consulted Simpson Grayson, paid them money and their advice was not right. Could we have gone to Auditor General when we were in doubt whether it's right or wrong?
Weren't in doubt.
Mr. Mayor, so we consulted our lawyers, Simpson and Grayson. They gave us an opinion that it's a difference of opinion between the OAG and our lawyers. I mean, at the end of the day, we believe it's a bit of a drafting oversight, as a matter of fact, because it doesn't make logical sense for an extension on LTP when you're for a severely affected council to not have the annual report extended. So instead of reflecting the 3-year LTP in that, it was a 10-year LTP only. So it's a little bit technical. However, I think that it is just where we're at.
My question is, why didn't we go to Auditor General and we thought about it and we went to Simpson Grayson? Why don't we go to the source and ask, there's a doubt? Because it's a breach, it's a serious matter, right?
Personally, I don't think it is. Actually, it's a technical matter that is a drafting issue, in my view, in the legislation. We did obviously adopt our LTP 1 month late, and we were provided an extension to do so. It carries logical sense that we were provided an extension to do.
I hope there's no penalty. from Auditor General. No repercussions.
I mean, our auditors, and Bryce can talk to that too, and Ethan have been liaising with the OAG when it's appropriate to do so.
Thank you.
Do you have a question, councillor Paniora?
Oh, yes, my question was around what are the consequences of the delay and
The consequences are we just disclose our adoption, and that's about it. We may go on a list with OAG of councils that have late adopted, but even the OAG have recognised that we're under significant pressure. So
Sorry, Jeff. It brings me on your table there. You've got the note 21 that we've negotiated the commentary around with our auditors, and they've negotiated that with the OAG as well. So the note 21 will be listed in the annual report, which is what the recommendation has said.
does it lower our rating or anything like that?
There's no effect on anything.
Yeah. Okay, let's have Jessie complete her presentation, and then we'll go upstairs, and then we'll have questions if there's any. Okay, thank you.
thank you, and good morning, Your Worship and councillors. We are here today to present the 30 June 2024 annual report for adoption. The annual report is a statutory document which has been audited, and that reports on council's actual financial results in comparison with what was planned for the year in the budget. In this year's annual report, council is comparing its performance with the third year of the 2021-2031 long-term plan. This has been a really tough year for council, with a lot of work completed in roading, storm recovery works and flood resilience works across the network. Reprioritisation of recovery work also impacted the delivery of the capital works program. I've mentioned that we were severely affected by the weather events, and that we also had to do a long-term plan which included our waters budgets again. So in this year, we also had to manage the disruption caused by the Three Waters legislation repeal, and required us at pace to include waters related activities in our budgets and plans again, which was a monumental amount of work, considering that we were to be the first Three Waters entity formed under the old legislation. So we've added the note 21, as discussed earlier, that we need to disclose in our annual report. That's needing you to adopt that paragraph today. And there will also be additional minor changes elsewhere throughout the report, such as on the statement of compliance made before official publication. Further pressures on this annual report stem from the additional complexities and delays around the valuation of the assets, vacant or absent key positions, the effect of both the Kaipara District Council and Northland Transport Alliance organisational restructures, and of course by the finance team capacity. In your report, I have included more detailed analysis. However, we'll now summarise the main points to note from the annual report, and then our external auditors, Deloitte, are here to answer any questions you may have. The biggest matter to note is around the valuation of council's stop bank network. This past year saw work go into asset management inside council, where the length and breadth of the stop bank network was measured and recorded in the asset registers of council, where it was never recorded at this level of detail before. This data improvement allowed the valuers to properly assign the right value to the stop banks based on those measurements. And consequently, we saw the value of the stop banks rise by $90 million between the last valuation and this year's one. Because council already owned those stop banks, we needed to restate prior years' annual report figures by $73.6 million, and reflecting that this value would have been reported in prior years' asset valuations had that improved data been available to the valuers back then. You will also see in the statement of comprehensive revenue and expenditure that we are significantly overspent in activity costs, and that is just a reflection of the large amount of storm recovery and repair work completed in the year, mostly in roading. The reason for the large budget variance, however, is that the budgets for roading emergency works were provided for as capital budgets rather than operational budgets. Council completed $32 million of capital works in the year compared to 36.7 million last year and against a capital budget of 78 million. 9.2 million of this budget was spent against operational repair work for roading, as previously mentioned. So I'll now hand over to Bryce and Ethan from Deloitte, and we can all answer questions as you need.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Would you like me to speak now or wait till the end?
Yeah, no, way you go.
Thank you. Just in terms of Jason's point around the breach of the timing, we have liaised with the OAG. So I think the first thing is you actually can't just go to the OAG. They're not actually a legal firm. So it would have been unfair to ask management to go to the OAG and ask for an opinion. They are essentially a combination of auditor and regulator. So you sort of had to do your own work first. So I think it's the ability to go to the OAG and ask for a legal opinion from them wasn't there. So in terms of that, as Jason said, management did what they thought was appropriate. They got legal advice. It is a difference of opinion. The OAG have reviewed the wording last night, and you'll see from that wording that it is relatively, wouldn't say it's benign because it's important, but it is discussing the circumstances surrounding the breach, and therefore I think when you read that, it doesn't come across as if it's a hard breach, but they are saying there's a different opinion. But you know, in some ways, management did what they thought was the appropriate thing. So I think that's probably that. I don't think there's anything else. Certainly, the OAG certainly don't have any ability or not have any repercussions from their perspective that we're aware of. In terms of Jesse's points on the accounts, she articulated it quite well. The stock bank valuation, restatement as we call it, is a big number, but there is no depreciation on that number. So in terms of the readers of the accounts and the ratepayers, there's very little impact because it's a non-depreciable asset, so it didn't affect the rates or your depreciation. And as we say, when the valuations are done, the valuers spend a lot of time with management discussing the quality of assets. And this was an area in the past where they did say the quality of assets was relatively immature, for want of a better word. And so they actually asked management to do further work, which was completed. Unfortunately, this work, the work that was done found this variance. It was more than anyone anticipated, including ourselves. And given the quantum, i.e. the sheer size of the variance, we didn't believe there was any other option but to push it back. So again, even though the quality of assets wasn't great, in this case, management did do the work requested by us and the valuer. So again, I think it is management trying to do the right thing through this. So that was probably their point. And otherwise, yes, we have completed our work. I think it's fair to say that management have been under a lot of pressure this year with the LTP, even though it was a 3-year LTP versus the normal 10, plus the NTA breakout, plus the resource constraints. So it was a very tough year for all sides. So again, I thank management for getting us to where we are today, but we are in a position to sign subject to the council ratifying the accounts. But it has been a tough year. And I say that there's been a lot of things in the economic environment which you're aware of around costings, etc., inflationary numbers that again made the valuations more challenging than you might expect. And you all see that in your day-to-day lives, with inflationary costs. So trying to figure out how much it would cost today to rebuild your network is not an easy task. So again, I think management did a pretty good job to arrive to where we are today. It's probably the only points I've got.
Thank you. Any questions of Jesse or Bryce? Thank you. Councillor Vincent, followed by Councillor Nair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really interested in this revaluation of the stop banks. I have to ask, what's the point? Because we've actually spent money on having engineers and I guess quantity surveyors, whoever else, valuers, work out more accurate value of the stop banks. But it sounds like it has no implications for anything other than, well, it's occupied a few more times and it's taken up your time as well as our engineers and consultants' time to end up in the same position, essentially. Is that correct? What's the benefit of us having a more accurate value of our stop bank network?
I don't know, Jesse, do you want to answer that or do you want me to answer that?
I'm happy for you to answer if you like, Bryce, or I'm happy to answer.
I'll have my 2 cents worth, I think. Well, first of all, thinking about just two parts of that question is, under the accounting standards, whether there's any benefit or not, you are required to do that, right? That's probably the easy answer. So there's no optionality. When you revalue your assets, you have to revalue all assets. So that's, I know it's answering your question, but that's number one. Number two, to answer your specific question, is the value is looking at your accounts, even though it didn't impact your profit and loss and your rates, because obviously it's not depreciable. It is telling the reader and telling the council the level of assets under the control of the council. So it might not be the most important piece of data that you look at it as a councillor, but conversely, you are sitting there going, we do have 100, in this case, $90 million of stock bank assets which you have to maintain. And as a council, it's important to actually know the assets you control. So the fact that it's not depreciable, what I mean by that, it doesn't actually impact the ratepayers, but the information is still valuable if you're sitting there going, it's just like your house. You're not going to sell your house, but you'll still sit there going, it'd be quite nice to know how much my house is worth, right? Doesn't really make any difference unless you're going to sell your house. So again, it's just information. Back to the first point, you have no choice. You do have to revalue it, whether there's any passive benefit or not. That choice is taken away, and we believe there is benefit because it's useful information. We're just saying in this case, it didn't impact your profit and loss, and therefore there was no rates implications because there's no depreciation attributed to stock banks.
Thanks for that. That's a valid justification. I just want clarification on the rationale behind why the stock banks aren't depreciable. Is it sort of as we don't depreciate our roading network?
The answer is because there are costs with your stock bank. Those are maintenance costs. Those costs are expensed. So what it's really saying is the cost to maintain, the degradation, those are expenses which you incur. So rather than having a depreciation of the stock banks, you have a maintenance cost. So that maintenance cost is your expense. So in some ways, it's
the offset.
Depreciation. Yeah. Yes.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Noah.
Thank you, Mr. Fellow councillor has asked half of my question already, but I'm just taking a bit further. So as a business enterprise, which Kaipara District Council is, we have revenue, we have expense. Does it in any way, boost the capability of KDC to go to market for borrowing because their total asset base is 90 million more or something like that? So in terms of ratios and all, I would say we'll get some advantage having spent so much money on it. If there is no advantage, I agree with the fellow councillor Vincent that it was a waste of time. So there's got to be something if we put time and energy there. And I thought as a business enterprise, there is some benefit, albeit a little one. Yeah. Can you explain on that?
I can. So there are, you are right, that's one of the ratios does include assets, but there's lots of other ratios, so they've all got to be aligned before there's any benefit. Because it looks at the interest you pay as a percentage of the total assets. So in that case, there could be benefits by increasing assets.
Well, I would say that when you're sitting on $100 million and then you spend on operational expenses 8 million, you say, well, we have only spent 8%. Actually, you spent 8 million. So when you have inflated the value of the asset, you have justifications to spend more on it.
Is that a further question?
No, I'm asking the same question here. Based on your experience.
Sorry, Councillor, are you expecting an answer from the auditors? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because they are experienced with all other councils. So.
You've heard from the Chief Financial Officer, but I'll see if Bryce has any comment to make.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realise it's to me. I'm not aware of any benefit in terms of the ability to borrow based upon your asset base. So there are ratios which you would disclose to various parties, but I'm not aware that because your assets have gone up, you have the ability to borrow more, etc. So I don't think it's as simple as that, because your ability to borrow is predicated on your ability to repay, and that's based upon your rateable units, your interest cover. In terms of your point around the maintenance, the fact that the assets were always there, that's why it's an error, right? It's not like we built the assets; they've been there for 50 years, 60 years. So the cost of maintaining the assets, in terms of your example, the 8 million, I'm not sure the right number, but a number, that number doesn't change because you always maintain them. It's just the denominator, for want of a better word, that's changed. So there is no cash cost or cash implication of this change. I'm not aware of any ability to borrow more. That's probably a question for management. I think Sue said she doesn't think it does, but we haven't seen, from our perspective, the ability to borrow more because our asset base is higher.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we've covered that. You can stand down. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Can I have a mover? Okay, I'll move that. Councillor Howard will move it. I'll second it. Thank you. We move to mover's statement. Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I think as Jessie has said, and she said it very eloquently, it has been one hell of a tough year, and I have a lot of things have happened. But I think that on a number of fronts, this council has weathered the storm, and certainly weathered the storm much better than perhaps we could have even anticipated at some stages, but certainly better than a number of other councils. And I think that staff are to be applauded for their management and their guidance through here. And, you know, I think we can be happy with the results. We've got the inputs from the experts. They've guided us. And the fact, actually, the outcome with everything that's happened, that we are about a month late now, according to the information, probably is testament to a hell of a lot of very good work, and it's just one of those things. So, well done, everybody.
Thank you. Look, I think you've summed that up. I'm not going to add further to it. Any other elected members wish to speak? It's a Paniora, followed by Councillor Anaya.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that overall, we can thank ourselves and the staff for a lot of the achievements within the annual report. There's definitely been some ups and downs, and it has been a really tough and difficult year overall, particularly for the staff, given the restructuring that occurred. But I just wanted to also mention the gripe that I had in terms of page 90 of the annual report and the achieved status for council maintaining and improving opportunities for Māori to contribute to local government decision-making processes, and that the reason to justify that achieved status was council providing a mana whenua quarterly hui to achieve that. But of course, those were not the performance measures that we measured ourselves against in the annual plan. It was the Māori ward, it was the MOU, the MEA, and also the climate adaptation program. So I can't see how we could possibly give ourselves a status of achieved for that one. And then, of course, we've got a meeting with iwi after this to discuss relationship improvement and resetting that after it was unilaterally terminated. So that's my gripe. And then finally, the other gripe is the bilingual document that I wouldn't call a bilingual document. All it is the exact same document, only with the titles bilingual and not the body. So there's a lot more to go to call it a bilingual document. And you can shake your head all you want, Councillor Lambis, but that is the reality of it. Thank you.
I don't think the comment was necessary. I don't think Councillor Lambert's making any comments or figuratives. So I think you can retract that sort of accusation. Councillor, that's all right. It's
Is that a
not-
comment or?
I'm saying that I don't appreciate that you make a comment against one of your fellow councillors when you're summing up
Well, you should have
your gripes.
then.
So I think that
If he doesn't want to,
can be ended there. Thank you. Councillor Howard, you have the, does anyone else wish to speak? Sorry, Councillor Nair?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to go into details. I actually had 20 pages noted, on PDF 18 by 597 and lots of items. It was a tough year, no doubt about that. But I am amazed so much we have achieved on the eastern side. And I am disappointed that the Storm Gabriel's funding we received 2 years ago has not been used on this site. So without going into details, all I'm trying to say is that while we are trying to do a good effort, it is not district-wide, which is the only disappointment I would say on that. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. I suppose the annual report is a snapshot into the past or a statement of the previous 12 months, which ended in June. It's a bit late in the day for suggesting significant changes to the document. There's been plenty of opportunity before now to do so. So I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Councillor, anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Howard, you're right of.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that in all honesty, all has been covered. I think that it is an excellent reflection of a really good balance across the whole district for the period of the last year.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favour, raise their hand and say aye. Aye. All those against? Motion carried. Thank you. Now we move.
Mr. Mayor, if we could just pass on our thanks to our auditors.
Oh, yes.
For your attendance and obviously for your work. I appreciate the effort there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Here.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is item 4.2.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Councillor Lambeth? Would like to move it. Can I have a seconder?
Moving, councillor.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to move with a slight amendment to it, please. When we have a look at this, we see that there is considerable lacking of the work being done in on the west coast. So I'd like the amendment to reduce the amount in section F down from 2550K down to 2000K even, and then add section H, which the balance of that approves allocating the sum of 550K in the 26-27 year Dargaville urban roading and footpath revitalisation projects to be determined. I'll second that.
Funny that.
yeah.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Larson.
So through you, Mr. Mayor. So it's on the, I believe we're just getting it on the board for you to look at. It's been moved and seconded. So that's changes to F and red, and then the additional H as outlined by Councillor Lambeth. Before you move into questions, and I will hand over to Annama, who's on screen there, beaming in today. So Annan, if you could talk to this, I'd appreciate it.
Welcome, Annan.
Yeah. Morning, Mr. Mayor, councillors. I just might do a bit of a recap, Mr. Mayor. So in our long-term plan, we had allocated 136 million. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry. So in our long-term plan, we had allocated 136.5 million. Our final budget allocation from NZTA came in at 101 million, which left a delta of 35.4 million. Of that, our share is 13.4 million. Following feedback from the last council briefing, this paper just reflects the direction provided. And I've summarised the direction into 3 options. And you'll see on my page 2 of the report, we've got option 1, which sets out the various funding available in each year. And against the projects that were identified at the previous council's briefing and direction provided. Option 2 just provides further opportunities to reduce rates and pay down debt in years 25, 26 and 26, 27. Option 3 is a little bit of a pick and mix feedback received from the last briefing around the Kaihu Valley Trail. So there are various sections still remaining, and there's opportunities to bring those in, but however, that's got to be at the expense of other programs, being the road drainage footpath and the cyclone recovery. So Mr. Mayor, we've got to keep to the allocations that have been provided in terms of we can't increase the projects in 1 year because the rates are set on the table that is provided, table 3 that's provided in the report. So happy to take any questions. I just have to note that with that new H recommendation, option 3 just has to be reduced down commensurate by the 550 in the footpath program.
Thank you. Any questions of Councillor Paniora, followed by Councillor Vincent?
So firstly, just in order to clarify the amendment to the motion by Councillor Larson, so if being reduced.
Point of order.
Point of order, your point of order?
Correct information.
What's your?
Councillor Paniora has just said that I moved an amendment to the
Sorry.
motion.
Yeah, no.
Okay, corrected. Thank you.
You seconded it. Can I continue now?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So the reduction to that which is district-wide road drainage and footpaths work, if that's to be reduced and 500,000 is to go specifically to the West Coast, does that still mean that the remaining funds there would still count towards the West Coast if it's district-wide? Or does that then mean that
through you, Mr. Mayor, that's still the intention.
Okay. Then the second question that I had, so 9.2 million, oh sorry, 9.929 million, and the West Coast is only going to get allocated $500,000. Does that seem fair and equitable? Okay, we're going to get serious here with the obvious and clear favouritism from councillors of Mangawhai continuing to fund projects over on the east.
Point of order. Yeah.
What's your point of order?
Incorrect information again, misrepresentation. There is no suggestion, no suggestion here that the West Coast.
So I'm hearing his point of order. Please be quiet.
No suggestion in the information that the West Coast gets only 550,000. It has just been established by a question from the member that allocations out of the likes of low cost, low risk, road safety, and what was the other thing? Phase 3 cyclone recovery are all allocations across the district. So it is incorrect information.
Correct. Okay.
Representation allocation.
You have a question, councillor Paniora, of,
My question is that fair and equitable to only have specific earmarked $500,000 definitely going towards the West Coast and the rest is up for contestable grabs? And based on the 2 years I've been a councillor and based on my experience, that funding never ever gets allocated to the West. Is that fair and equitable?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, you're asking for an opinion from staff, and I'm not comfortable with the staff providing opinion.
We are.
You are the decision makers around the table here, and it's up to you how you allocate the funding.
that's right. Okay, any further questions? So Vincent,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually did circulate a question several days ago, and my question was, I think, I'd be interested to
I've
hear.
got an answer to you.
Say again, Anand?
I was going to, at the end of the question time, I was actually going to respond to your question, Councillor Vincent.
Well, okay, well, so my question, it would be good to have that now because I have a couple of subsidiary questions, which that would provide a context for.
Okay, so you will be aware that Downers, our maintenance contractor, has visited our roading network.
Sorry to interrupt, just for the record, because this is a public meeting and people won't know what I circulated in advance. I said, given the comprehensive audit of the state of our roading by our contractors, I'd be interested to hear from them what they see as the highest priority of unmet needs for our roading network. Is that possible?
In various briefings, and they can update in the next briefing, but we're looking at about $6 to $8 million deficit per annum, and it's mainly in the unsealed, sealed and drainage activities.
Okay, so that will do for the introduction to my other questions. Is I think they're going to be questions. Firstly, I think from their reports, they say the biggest focus should be on drainage, and is option one going to deliver that to us when we are taking? I haven't seen the wording and writing of this amended remit regarding demarcation into different wards for the different amounts, as opposed to looking at where the need is greatest. I'm struggling to align the recommended option to what I perceive as what our contractors who have a good hands-on understanding of our roading network now would be recommending, given that we have a shortfall. So how does the recommendation fit with the priorities as described by our roading contractors? There's a question for you.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Mayor, you will recall I brought a paper to the last council briefing, and from the direction provided at that briefing is how we arrive at option one. And then further to discussion, we arrive at option three, and we always had option two in the original briefing paper. So what we've done, Councillor Vincent, is based on the direction provided and based on the amount of funding available per year, we've set out what councillors can obviously have a conversation on. There are some items that we are saying that we should have in terms of Cove Road underslip. We do want to get that allocated because NZTA have provided their subsidy portion. Obviously, there's road education program that we want to continue with Whangarei District Council. And I've always said that we should put aside some allocation for low risk, low cost, because there is this national pool of $100 million available. And whilst we don't have any funds directly available, we can utilise those funds provided we meet the criteria, and hence why it is important that we do provide an allocation for that. Obviously, Wood Street was discussed in great context last time, as well as, we have a deficit in our cyclone recovery, so we wanted to put some funding aside for that. And then you get to what's remaining and what's available in the years, and we have allocated, district-wide drainage and footpath. So we have put an allocation. I guess it's up to the elected members to now provide recommendations on how they wish to see each year how the funds are allocated.
Okay. It's just, I suppose I've been having more of a rethink over time since our last meeting to as to how we should approach this, given the focus of our contractors. And I'm just wondering, how time-bound are we with resolving this today?
Through you.
Yeah, sorry, no, I hand over to Sue. I think we're very time-bound. We actually need to get on with the finances. This is holding up the annual plan. As a matter of fact, we would normally come to the annual plan council meeting in December, start working through the annual plan process. We are not able to do that. There's some extra commentary maybe Sue would like to add.
No, you've said it all. That's right. Just the annual plan does impact on that.
Because just bear with me for a moment. I'm just trying to process the best way to put forward another proposition, which would perhaps have to proceed by way of an amendment, but that might be quite lengthy to go through that and then have it fail. So procedurally, actually, I can still propose an amendment when we come to statements, can't I? Yeah.
We're just so through, Mr. Mayor, sorry. We're just take questions at the moment. So there's additional questions now. You could contemplate what you want to do while the other questions have been.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sorry to hold you up. Yeah, thank you, Anna.
Okay, Councillor Nair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a question for the mover as well as, but first to Ani. So we're dealing with this ratepayers' money for the unsubsidized transport budget. So we put up a proposal, we ended up with rejection. We have this $9 million to play with, right? So my question is, I don't know much rules about LTP and the ratepayers. We haven't consulted the ratepayers on these projects that we should, rather than giving back the money, we should use it to our pleasure. Is it legal?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I might defer that question to CE Marist.
I can answer that through the chair. Yes, it is legal because we actually put out our LTP with those projects in it. So going ahead and putting money against those projects is in line with what we said we were going to do.
Now we're using the old ratepayers' money for two specific projects in Mangawhai, isn't it?
No, it's been used for a number of projects. One project is in Mangawhai is half funded by financial contributions and development contributions. I mean, there are some rates towards it, but the majority of the money is going to drainage, going to low cost, low risk and road safety.
So my second question is to mover. This amendment to. Can I ask a question to the mover?
Yeah, look, I'll allow it. Okay.
I just want to clarify the purpose of this amendment. Does it mean that you are approving the rest of it just by amending A?
Have we had it up on?
Yes, ma'am. So maybe, through you, Mr. Mayor, do you mind if we put it back up on the board?
Yes.
And you'll see what's obviously.
I think that's a given, because looking at what we had on the board.
We'll get
Do
back
you
up.
want me to answer it?
Yeah.
Wait till it's up.
He's amended the entire recommendation with some amendments, so it is that Gordon is proposing that amendment as a whole.
So just to clarify, Council, it's not an amendment, it's moved motion that's on the table, okay? So that is what has been moved and seconded, that is on the table. So, and the only changes to what was in the paper was F, which is a reduction from 2.55 mil down to 2 mil for drainage and footpaths, with the addition of H, which is the same amount, 550K in the 26-27 year, same financial year, to Dargaville urban roading and footpath revitalisation projects. That is the change from what was in the council report, and that's what's on the table at the moment.
Okay, question answered. Councillor Wilson Collins, you have a question?
My question was to see the motion, thank you.
Oh, what you've got on the board now. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Your hand up through the chair, please. Okay, no questions.
Sorry.
One more from Mr. Councillor Vincent.
So, does anyone have a definition of pork barrel politics?
That's not a question that's relevant here, I don't think. Thank you. Can I have the presenter stand down, please, and we'll go to mover's statement. Thank you, Councillor Lambert.
Thank you. After a lot of touring and froing, the most important thing here I found was section C, how that's been brought up to 300,000 K. The request for the road safety education program was originally 600,000. There was 192,000 support of that 600 by NZTA. It still leaves us $108,000 short from what they actually wanted. There was a downside there than what it was at the start of the week, where it was only going to be 150,000 for the 3-year period. So that is very, very satisfying that we got that amount. The other matter is, it's the up to talk. Okay, I'll carry on. The other matter is the drainage program. In the LTP, there were numerous comments about the state of the Dargaville Township. My intention in this is to make sure that Dargaville is not overlooked.
Look, could you please desist from making the interruptions? We don't need it. I've given you a warning now. You keep your place like everybody else in the meeting. You put your hand up and you address questions through the chair in statements. Thank you. Councillor Lambert.
Deal with it.
It's your second warning. Next one, I'll chuck you out. Putting up with it.
Point of order. Can you please record the use of language? Standing order 21.11.
What is the language that has been inappropriate?
Me out.
Oh, terrible. No, point of order declined. Carry on, Councillor Lambert.
Right, so section F 2550K was the original amount being reduced down. That is approximately 1/5 of it. However, my intention was that district wide, and it says quite clearly it is a district wide roading, drainage and footpath work. So in theory, we could have the full 2.5 million spent in Dargaville. It depends on how things go. However, the intention was to make sure there was an allocation and that Dargaville benefited something from this, bearing in mind that we do not have the development contributions in this side of the district to prompt it up. Now, I thought this would be a welcome alteration for the other fellow Dargaville councillors. I'll pause.
Can you take your seat again, please, Councillor? Councillor Lambert, would you like to continue?
It is for the 26-27 year, so there will be some planning and consultation or further consultation with the public on what we to come up with for the Dargaville Township. I would have loved to have seen it all go to the Kaihu Valley Trail, but unfortunately that initial amount is has to be quite substantial and could almost take the whole budget here, and that is unrealistic. We will continue to lobby central government for that Kaihu Valley Trail, and it is a high priority. When that Kaihu Valley Trail does go through, we're going to have congestion problems in the centre of Dargaville with bicycles. So this is a good proposal to get something planned for the future of Dargaville. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, at this point, can I just pause us for a second? I apologise for this. We just noticed that the recommendations that's on the screen that Councillor Lambert has moved are different to the ones that were in the separate paper that was sent to you. So I'm going to request just a brief adjournment, if possible, Mr. Mayor, just to give us 5 minutes to make sure that's tickety-boo before you get to the vote.
Okay, let's have a brief adjournment for a cup of tea.
Just 5 minutes. Thank you.
Bye. sorted out this motion of Councillor Lambert. It's up on the board, clarified.
Yeah, through me, Mr. Mayor, if I may talk to this, please. So through, obviously, we had an additional paper, I assume Anand's online as well. Yep. We sent the paper out. Additionally, it was missing option 3, and there were slightly different recommendations there. We have amended that now. So if you look at A, it is 2400, and C was 150 is actually 300. That is the correct. They are the correct numbers now. And then the marking in red is Councillor Lambert, what he's moved as well. So,
Do I have the approval of the mover and the seconder for that?
Yes, that is as I saw it.
Right, thank you. Okay. All right.
you happy, Councillor Larson, with the second? What? So we just clarified A and C. That was correct. From what was
It's incorrectly displayed on the screen.
Okay, so you're happy.
yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lambert, as the mover, has spoken.
Okay, Councillor Larson, you the second statement, please.
You think, Your Worship, I think that the proposal here to try and get work done across the district is a good one. We unfortunately aren't getting as much subsidy as we would have liked, but times are tough in central government. We can only use what we can get. There may be opportunities to find other subsidy or other ways of increasing the pot. In the meantime, we've got to deal with this. And I agree that focusing on our phase 3 cyclone recovery work and on improving our drainage across the district are important priorities, and we do need to commit to getting as much of that done as we can. I also support Councillor Lambert's proposal to put a substantial amount of money into the revitalisation of Dargaville urban area. And we're really at a crossroads here with Dargaville. I think it's a really exciting time. We've got Moonlight Heights, which is going to push ahead and bring new housing stock into town and bring new people in. And economic development perspective, we need to push the town forward, get it looking sharp, attract more tourists, and bring more new people in and have good places to live. I think that this is a really good initiative. As far as the Kaipara Valley Trail is concerned, it's also critically important that we do find ways to push ahead and get that completed. There have been some good conversations regionally, and I am satisfied that the whole of Northland support the complete loop being completed. And I think we need to work on that regionally and get that organised as well. But it is a significant commitment, and we need to actually be able to complete the project. And unfortunately, with our limited revenue, we aren't going to get anywhere near doing that. We'll start cutting into this. Thank you.
Okay, any other members wish to speak? Councillor Panior, followed by Councillor Howard.
Yep, I take exception to being threatened to be physically chucked out of this building, and I want that recorded and an apology after this meeting for that, especially from a person in power. I told you so. We sat here on the 6th of November talking about opening the funding up to other initiatives that were different from what was proposed by Anand. And we had the Kaipara Valley Trail in there. And when I said, prove me wrong that the Kaipara Valley Trail won't stay within the proposed funding, and everyone laughed, here we are. A totally unfair and unequitable allocation of funds that again misses the West Coast. yes, we have 550,000 there, but that's more than $9 million, and half the district is on the West Coast. I mean, we've got obligations and responsibilities to the Local Government Act to act in the best interest of all of the district, regardless of our wards. And I'm reminded of that on a constant basis, but how is this reflective of those obligations that we have as councillors? And yes, I scoff because, you know, when we're talking about what is in the best interests of the community, Dargaville is going backwards. The town is so run down, shops are closing, we're talking about Moonlight Heights. Well, we've got infrastructure issues around that. You know, we don't currently have the capacity to actually deliver on all of those consents that have been granted. So if we had an influx of people tomorrow that wanted to build, not that it's likely, we wouldn't be able to keep up with the demands on the network. And yes, I'm just looking forward to, you know, the next 12 months when hopefully we get some new councillors around the table that are invested in the community and not in other areas. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Howard, you're next on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, it's an interesting discussion. We've been over elements of this on several occasions, and you know, I think that at the end of the day, we essentially came and agreed on the principles. Certainly in the last wee while. I recall a conversation that we've had, and just, you know, if I haul out the biggest item, Wood Street, and it goes back quite some time. And it's very easy, obviously, for some to forget that actually this results from a kick the can down the road type scenario from the previous council and possibly before that, and where already the cost of this needed project, because, you know, it is totally connected with the stormwater, let's not forget that, over there, was originally budgeted at 4 million, and because of delays, it's gone to 6 million, and, you know, would increase more for any other delays. So it is right and it is appropriate that, yeah, hard decisions are made and we get on with things. I want to applaud Councillor Lambert on behalf of all the West Coast members for having the initiative.
Your point of order.
A misrepresentation of West Coast councillors' opinions when the councillor himself, one, is not a West Coast councillor, and two, I do not share the view that he's stating on behalf of.
I think that's appropriate. So you're not representing the West Coast wards in your statement. So carry on with.
I wasn't representing West Coast on behalf. I said on behalf of West Coast members. Your Honour.
It's not the shared opinion.
You can't speak on behalf of the other members like that. Carry on.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I will applaud Councillor Lambert for actually putting forward a specific proposal for something for Dargaville, and I totally endorse it. I think that that's great. So, you know, that's an excellent initiative. So overall, I mean, these are about things that we've identified and talked about enough, about getting on with things. And so I'm very supportive.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Manderson.
I'll speak.
Sorry, is that permission for me to speak?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honour. I think in times like this is one of the rare occasions in which you'll have interest from other parts of New Zealand to make an investment. If you don't make it in this time, it won't happen. So I would suggest that council should shortlist investment opportunities in the Kaipara and publicise them. In that way, you will have people perhaps uptake them. It may well be people from overseas that are prepared to spend some additional investment funds in order to obtain residency. But if you don't attract them in good times like these, for investment purposes, you'll never get it.
Thank you, Councillor Manderson. Can I have anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Naya, followed by Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on this amendment, obviously, first of all,
It's not an amendment, it's a motion.
it's a motion with
you.
amendment.
No, it's not. Let's put it as a motion. It's altered before it became a motion.
So this is the final version of what we are voting on, the three options, right? Okay. All right. So, well, as I said before, I find a last minute adjustment to the motion farcical to get through the rest of it. The ratepayers' money to be exclusively used for these projects was unfunded by NZTA. It is criminal and deceptive. The money should be put back in annual plan pool. The rates can be made more affordable as they are comparable with big cities like Auckland and Melbourne and does not help Kaipara in any ways. It makes owning a house, living in Kaipara very expensive and also affect badly the growth possibilities and projections in the LTP. The millions of dollars being spent on Wood Street, Mangawhai Reserve Plan, or even car parks can be better directed to a district-wide growth. So loss or this, what we are talking about district-wide, taking 500 out of that to get approval of all is unwarranted. We should be provisioning for these projects district-wide and there should be a fair distribution across the district. Kaihu Valley Cycling Trail should be funded, as Councillor Lambert said, by grants from central government, and I totally agree on it. We should not be melding with $10 million issue when we have a bounty of $9 million, ratepayers' money. We should go back to them. The issue is that, the main issue is that we have failed to deliver projects. We have got $30 million cash sitting in Kaipara District, doing nothing. And we have projects which are Gabriel funded. If you look at the annual report, and you would have seen, I'm sure, all of our fellow councillors, 10% has been spent on out of that. So all those monies, and we are creating more projects just with this money, which is not our money. So we are not doing any favors to already suffering ratepayers by grabbing their money and keeping it for future projects, while there's money sitting in KDC bank account for previously unfunded projects, many of which have been funded by central government and flood protection and whatnot. The focus should shift from dishing out the bounty to the delivering the projects, creating a pipeline before embezzlement of ratepayers' money on such a large scale. So I will be against putting money to these projects. Thank you.
Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am going to propose a motion, an amendment to the motion. So perhaps if I was to set that out first and see if there's a seconder, and then I'll provide the context and explanation. Okay. So my amendment is to revert the motion to how it was circulated prior to the meeting.
So, Mr. Mayor, so Councillor Vincent, you're moving as an amendment by replacement the original motion that was in the paper that was circulated to elite members.
Because that appears to be the same as what was up there, apart from shifting the 500K to a new item H. Yeah.
So do you have a seconder?
I can second it.
Can you? It's already spoken.
Sorry, on Wilson Collins.
I'll second it, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so
So, Mr. Mayor, you've got the amendment on the table now. We'll just put it up on the screen if we can, just so that people are clear. And then, obviously, the committees get to speak to it, starting with the mover.
okay, Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I should explain some of my internal conflict was when we're in question time. I really did wonder something along the lines of what Councillor Nay is saying, that this is ratepayers' money we're talking about. Given, and one factor that has occurred to me that is, we're proposing at the same time to be changing from land value based general rating to capital value rating. And out of that process, there will be winners and losers, quite apart from a proposed 9% rate increase. And if we had that $9 million to actually come out of the budget so that there wasn't such a big rate increase next year, it might just help to buffer the impact of the changes brought about by capital value rating if that were the case. It looks like our chief executive is doing some calculations, maybe, no, what difference that would make. But so but I also, I think, read the room as saying that that wouldn't carry the day. So I put that to one side. But the purpose of this amendment is, I am really concerned, I guess, about how this looks, in that this is last minute scrabble before the meeting to make this change without anyone having a chance to have a contemplate on it. Because it might be that I'm thinking, well, actually, you know, and Councillor Ron might agree with me too, that perhaps the footpaths around Mangawhai could do with a bit of a tune-up, as they certainly can. And there's been a proposal for a alternative access up Gorge Road, extending the footpath there, that would be really nice to have. And there could be other communities in the Otamatia ward that could do with an identified budget. So then need to re-revise this and allocate specific amounts to specific communities, or alternatively, as my amendment proposes, leave it to the judgment of the professional engineers where they can see that the need is greatest, without the prospect of political interference, and what to me, you know, it wasn't just randomly that I asked about the definition of pork barrel politics, because to me, that is the way this is heading with the motion as it was originally tabled. And to revert it to the previous wording, that means it is taken out of the hands of the politicians to interfere in that deciding what the priorities are. So that is the basis of my amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Wilson-Collins. Councillor. Karen Wilson-Collins. Would you like to speak?
So I was interested to hear the rationale behind this amendment, which is why I seconded it. And I think that there's been some very valid points made. We talk a lot about representing the entire district as a whole, and whilst I agree that Dargaville itself is in need of funding, and it's in need of some improvements, especially council infrastructure, there are so many parts of our district that are in need for that. And I just think that the vow that we take and how we're meant to operate doesn't sit well with me, that we would isolate a certain amount of funding for one particular town in our district, moved by our wider award member and conveniently supported by a majority around the table. It doesn't look as shiny and brilliant, I think, as possibly everyone thinks it does. I don't actually totally agree with the recommendation from staff anyway, because we did have a lot of discussion around what to do with this funding, and yeah, and I expressed those views previously. I don't need to go through those chapter and verse again, but I appreciate the amendment being made, and that this way of thinking is able to be talked about at the table whilst we go around the room and figure out what's best to do with the funding. I do have to eat my hat. I think I made a comment to somebody that today's meeting should be fairly straightforward and the comment made back to me was like, whenever you think that, there's always some kind of kettle of fish in there. So, yeah, I just hope that we can come to a resolution fairly quickly because nearly the whole morning's up and I believe we have another meeting following this one and a whole agenda to go through yet. So good luck, everybody.
Okay, so Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest that council should organise full descriptions of, say, 10 investment possibilities. Make them available to council and.
The point of order?
Point of order? What is your point?
Is there irrelevant?
You need to address the,
Sorry, what was that?
what is your point of order?
Well, we are having a proposal on the table, which is not investment related, it's unrelated.
I think he's talking.
Happened many times, so.
I think he's talking to irrelevance, Ron. You're supposed to be talking regarding
Paragraph C,
the recommendation.
26.2C.
The recommendation is not about investment through the district. It's about where we portion allocating our unsubsidised transport budget for roading. Okay, would anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Lambeth.
It's just to address Councillor Vincent's amendment. It is wrong to think that it is a reward for Dargaville. It is a problem that is going to arise from the cycle trail opening. Biannually, I think it's dropped back to biannually, but 1 month of every year, we have the cycle tour from Kaipara down to Bluff. And one of the towns I go to is Dargaville. It is chaos during that 3-week period when those riders come through Dargaville, of walking on the footpaths, or any sort of transit along through the centre of Dargaville due to the influx of cycles. We will see, and I'm confident we will, have an expansion of the Kaihu Valley Trail. And this is a problem that Dargaville is going to have with the increased tourism that comes through that from that facility, that trail and the cycleways. I don't see it as an allocation and a gift to Dargaville. It's addressing a real need. And if we have a look at the date, the 26-27 year, it'll be almost exactly the right timing for that. Just to clear up that point on the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Manderson.
I'd like to just point out at the moment that.
Oh, sorry, you've already spoken. I'm sorry. Anyone? Councillor Nair has spoken.
No, Councillor Nair.
Councillor Nair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad this amendment has been put up. It gives us another opportunity to discuss what we are doing. So, I think the whole projection of, first of all, we haven't heard from any specialists that 500K is enough. We had 7.5 million allocated to Dargaville, which we could not get, which was taking care of much of the footpaths and whatnot. This Kaihu Valley drama, I would call it a drama, is going on for a few years, might go for 20 years. And we are not putting 500,000 specifically for a project, which at the moment is not required, can be put to, as my fellow councillor said, we have to be district-wide. And it's a shame that when I keep saying district-wide for the other side, this side get nothing. So when we appropriate any money, it should be, all the councillors should be consulted on that. And I don't think, funnily enough, or I'm the only one who is putting my neck on the line on this side all the time, but I don't regret it because I don't want to be a Mickey Mouse. Thank you.
Anyone else like to make a comment? Rachel?
Okay. Yeah, I think in both of these recommendations, it is good to see that the district-wide and phase 3 cyclone recovery projects actually make up most of the budget. I can understand what councillor Lambeth is undertaking to do with having a sum apportioned to footpaths and work in Dargaville. And yeah, I think that should be the way that it goes. So I won't support it.
Okay. I've already spoken on this issue. Anyone else wish to speak that hasn't spoken? Councillor Larson.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, there's been a few points raised through the meeting about how members shouldn't move motions other than what
Points of
our
order,
recommendation is.
What is your point of order?
relevance to the,
Well, he hasn't finished speaking yet, so let's see where the relevance comes. Thank you.
I find it kind of unusual that it's expected that one would only ever move a motion that is the staff recommendation. If that's the case, there's no point in having elected members at all. You might as well have the staff making all of the decisions.
points of order criticism of the motion.
Point of order declined. Carry on, Councillor Larson.
So further to that, I think that Councillor Lambeth has made a good proposal with the substantive motion, and we do need to be looking ahead to revitalising Dargaville. One of our biggest town, and you know, it's very important to our economy. It supports the surrounding extensive rural area, and we need to be looking ahead and finding ways to make some improvements, upgrades, and I think it's very appropriate. So I won't be supporting the amendment of removing the revitalisation.
Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, I'm going to speak. I'm not going to support the amendment. 550k is not a severe amount of money, but it's nice to focus, I think, on what we see as an important part of our district, and that is the largest town, Dargaville, and what it needs in the future. I think Councillor Vincent has a point in terms of leaving it to the experts, but sometimes you have to focus the experts on where you'd like attention to occur. Certainly we have funds in there that are going to be spent right throughout the district. There's continual reference that it's only being spent in the east is totally incorrect. And I will not be supporting this. Thank you. All right. Do I get a right of reply? No. Okay, put this to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Yes.
Want to do a
That's okay. My self-esteem is still secure.
Yeah, good man.
So was it a division?
Yeah.
Pages?
yeah.
Councillor Howard,
Against.
councillor Lambert,
Against?
councillor Larson,
Against?
councillor Manderson,
Against.
councillor Nair. Councillor Nair. Yeah, sorry, councillor Nair.
Against.
Well,
You voted against.
I want to go against for the main motion, not this one. This is for.
You actually said.
Oh, you
I said against, but I was voting for the main motion.
So you're for it, eh? Okay, thank you.
Apologies.
Councillor Pennyroy. Councillor Vincent,
For.
councillor Williams. Sorry, against. Wilson Collins. Against. Gibson.
Against.
Been lost.
Step back to the substantive motion. Where were we with that? We had Councillor Lambeth make his right of reply, didn't we?
We haven't had a right of reply yet, no, Mr Mayor. We've had 6 councillors speak on this motion. We have 4 others that could speak before we get the
Okay,
right.
does anyone else wish to speak on this motion? Okay. It's, I think you spoke.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the vote.
I'm delighted.
Oh, right or reply? Yep, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are a few points brought up prior to Councillor Vincent's amendment and discussion of this. One of those points where shop closing down, and I just want to state that Dargaville has the highest occupancy, commercial occupancy rate of any other town in Northland. There is a 1% vacancy. Just this week, we've got a new multinational opening up, and that's Hammer Hardware. This is a construction-based company, in what has been classed as the largest construction downturn in the last 20 years. So things aren't as gloomy as what we think. I think there's only one business premises that is available for rent in Dargaville. So it is vitally important that the money is injected in there. Hopefully more development contributions will come in the future, which can support this, because that's where it's lacking. The confusion over this, the numbers were changing right up until I think the close of play yesterday on these numbers. So I'm, this has solidified the numbers that are there in question. Although we're short with the road safety education, you know that I've been going on about that for years, and actively still involved with that. And we've had a tremendous amount of success here in the district with driver licensing programs, which get their funding a lot from this. So I'm very, very excited about it going up from the 150 up to the 300. We're still $108,000 short, even with the NZTA subsidy of what they wanted, but I'm sure we can work with that. And I've already spoken about the annual cycle tour through the country and the congestion that it causes there. Yeah, so I will leave it at that. For this, I'm glad that I've highlighted some allocation of, even if it is just planning or the start of the revitalisation program for Dargaville. It's a big thing. It's the first one we've had for a long time. Thank you.
Okay, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise their hand, say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Against.
Against?
Division.
Division, please.
Howard. Councillor Lambert.
For.
Councillor Larson.
For.
Councillor Manderson.
For.
Councillor Nair.
Against?
Councillor Peniora.
Against?
Councillor Vincent.
Against?
Councillor Williams. For. Councillor Wilson Collins.
Against.
Mayor Jepson.
For.
Carried.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Before I move on to the next part of the agenda, I just want to say my apology for using the wrong words, Councillor Peniora. I meant that you would be asked to leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 4.3, Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Surf Incorporated Public Notice of Intention to Grant Lease. Can I have a mover for this, please?
Before you do, Mr. Mayor, can I just, we're just going to tweak the last recommendation there just so it makes grammatical sense, if we could. So, Alana, do you mind putting that up on the board, please? It is just literally just sorting out C, which says appoints those members to be the hearing panel with respect to this proposal to give full consideration in accordance with to every objection or submission received before making a recommendation, yes, in brackets, to council on whether to proceed or not with the proposal. We're just tidying that up. So it makes sense.
Commends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all just grammatical stuff.
Okay, go back to having a mover, Councillor Howard. Seconder, please, Councillor Larson. Reporting staff member is Mark Schroers. Thank you, Mark.
Right, so essentially with this resolution, this proposed resolution, what you would be doing is saying to the community that you're proposing to grant a lease to the Mangawhai Heads Surf Lifesaving Club. And reasonably high level of information is given there. It's about like a heads of agreement saying that it's to this organisation for these purposes, for generally this area and for this term. So it's a bit of a heads of agreement there, and asking the community then to give us their feedback, giving them the opportunity to make objections and to make submissions, including the opportunity for a hearing. There's an inclusion there of having a hearing panel, substitute elected members, which would be the same membership as the working group for the Mangawhai Heads Reserve Concept Plan. And they would then consider the feedback received, and they would hear any submitters who wish to speak to their submissions or objections, and then make a recommendation to the full council as to what action should be taken, whether to grant such a lease, and if any amendments to the proposed terms of that lease might be made following the feedback from the community. So essentially it's essentially a resolution to open for community consultation. Community consultation is a requirement under the Reserves Act. So essentially it's a resolution to begin that process under the Reserves Act. Any questions?
Any questions? Councillor Larson.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I had asked to see a map of the existing lease area. Is that something that will be made available through this process if we make a decision to go ahead with the recommendation?
Yeah, so as I said, it's sort of at a sort of a heads of agreement level. So the exact footprint is something which would need to be surveyed and confirmed through negotiating a lease, and that's something which can be negotiated. So in terms of the existing footprint, certainly something which we can share with elected members. It might be it can be shared publicly, but it can be shared with the elected members. And in terms of the new lease, the exact footprint is something which will need to be negotiated with the Surf Lifesaving Club.
But the reference to the lease being the same area as it currently isn't binding. That could be changed through this process depending on how it evolves.
So the proposal is for generally the same area. So essentially generally the same area, but exactly where the lines are drawn is something which would need to be negotiated. And of course, we need to also take into consideration the community feedback. The community may ask us to give more or less area, or to change some of the rules around it. Often council licenses to occupy, for example, normally we grant the footprint of the building, and then the rest of the area is to use in common with the public and other users. So there's various sort of terms and conditions which will need to be negotiated. But the general question to the public is for that general area rather than another area, or moving them, relocating them to another area.
Thank you.
So Howard.
Thank you.
So no.
Mr. Mayor. Mark, just following on from that, is there included in generally the same area any of the existing car parking?
That would be something to be negotiated if it's the same car parking, because I understand they do have some car parking there, so that's something to be negotiated, but it's within that general part of the reserve.
Okay.
Rather than looking at relocating to another area of the reserve, it's essentially the continued use and occupation of that general area that they're using.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'd be asked that we endeavour to be clear about how many parks they currently have, and to follow through.
Mr. Mayor, if you could, we do have the map here. We're happy to hand it out to elected members. Just don't want to overcomplicate things. Just want to point out that it is a very old map based on a very old lease. Okay, so as part of this process, we would be upgrading that map so that it's properly surveyed as well. So it won't have all the detail you're probably expecting, but it's what's in there. So we'll hand it out now.
Thank you, Alana.
Too old.
Yeah. What normal processes? I mean, we obviously have a lot of old leases, a lot of old maps. As part of this process, we'll be upgrading that map and doing a proper survey.
And also noting is there's a distinction between, I suppose, the public part of this process. We're asking for the community for their feedback on the proposal versus the public excluded part where we would actually get into the terms and conditions and clauses of the lease agreement.
Okay, councillor Naya, your questions?
Yeah, just to clarify, looking at the language of recommendations, it looks like they have some plans for making the next generation club rooms later on. Is it something to do with the proposed development of the whole area? Or what's the location of those club rooms? Is it an existing land or is it part of, because I see 4 councillors to be on the hearing panel. So it looks like it is bigger than what it seems to be. It is not a renewal of the lease per se. There's more to it, is it?
So this proposed lease is seen as an interim measure for the continued occupation and use of the current site and the current buildings. The other piece of work being undertaken is the Mangawhai Heads Reserve Concept Plan, which is conceptually where development will be located and how it will be laid out within that reserve. And that includes the draft there includes the surf club continue to occupy that same area, but it would allow them to redevelop on that same area.
So they will still be stationed in the same area?
In the same area, yes.
New club room. Thank you.
In time, they can look at new club rooms.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you, Mark. I go to the mover's statement, councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is in essence a straightforward thing. It is an absolute sign of goodwill and surety to the surf club that, as per discussions, that they have a lease to move and to give them the basis to move on, get their remediation work done, get back into the existing club room and then look to the future. And they've got a timeline to work in. You know, very straightforward and the right thing to do for this community asset. Thank you.
Councillor Larson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I concur with the points made by Councillor Howard. It's good to have this progressing and I hope the surf club are happy with the progress we're making. Thank you.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Councillor Vincent.
Perhaps as one member who isn't one of those nominated in the motion, I have no problem with it.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Councillor Naya.
Thank you. I'm quite excited for whatever is being done for this surf club, as long as it's being done with the right interest in mind of the club. And I hope the hearing panel will listen to their objections, suggestions, recommendations in the scheme of bigger development. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Williams.
Through the chair. Yeah, just to say that it's great to get to this next point where we're actually going out for consultation with the public on the intent to secure a lease for the surf club. So it's great to finally have this on the agenda. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
If somebody was looking at an investment in Kaipara, who could they contact and what would they receive?
Councillor Anderson, that's another matter, but at the present time we are deciding on the Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service grant to lease, so commercial opportunities within the district are another matter. Thank you. I'd just like to say that I frequently take an early morning walk down at the beach, and it's been a long time coming, but there were helicopters in there last week drilling into the hill and removing vegetation for the repair on that. So it's good to see that started, so that facility down there will be in use sooner than later. Thank you. Okay, movers, right reply. Councillor Howard.
All covered. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all those in favour raise their hand and say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is resolving appeals on private plan change 84 PPC 84 Mangawhai Hills. Can I have a move for that, please?
We need to move names.
Oh, okay, I got the names up there, yeah, I wrote some names down there. So, on that panel, with councillor, where's mine? Councillor Larson, Howard and Vincent. That up there, please. Delegate says authority to resolve the appeal. This is pretty straightforward, so who would like to move that, please?
You just did, your worship.
I did.
I'll second.
Okay. Councillor Howard, second. Okay, reporting staff member. Thank you, Paul.
Worship councillors, firstly, you will remember that the council adopted the recommendations of the hearings panel on Plan Change 84, Mangawhai Hills, on the 28th of August 2024. The decision was notified and one appeal from Mangawhai Matters was received by the court. I phoned the court, no Section 274 parties joined, so it will be a matter between Mangawhai Matters, the applicant and council to be resolved. The court suggested that negotiations or possible court-assisted mediation takes place. And this report actually deals with the willingness of council to use the alternative dispute resolution methods and a decision who will be representing Kaipara District Council. The decision is not delegated to staff, and therefore this matter comes to council for a decision, hence the recommendation. But the recommendation is that staff will pass.
Could I interrupt for a moment, please? I'm concerned about propriety here. And this might be a question for the CE in terms of proper process. The Mangawhai Hills development was something where, for whatever reason, the mayor declared a conflict of interest when we came to adopt it.
It was the rise.
No, Councillor Vincent.
I thought it was also Mangawhai.
So Vincent is correct in that regard.
Yeah, he was. He was in both.
Yeah. And I just wonder, well, it is for the member to declare a conflict.
That's right. It is.
And he doesn't see a conflict, well, that's fine. But I just was, in case it's something that had been overlooked.
That's all right.
It's raising
no impropriety. I don't believe I have a conflict today on this particular part of the agenda.
Okay. No, well,
Councillor,
it's your call, Mr. Mayor, but I just
right.
Just good to get it out in the open.
Thank you, Paul. You can continue.
Thank you. So the recommendation is then, as suggested, the three members to make the decisions, but that staff attend the negotiations and the meetings and any mediation that will take place and make a recommendation to these three elected members for a decision. After this meeting, I will inform the court of the council's decision and the proceedings, and the agreement between the parties, when the parties agree, will be then sent to council, or the decision of court will be sent to council for a final decision at that stage.
Thank you. You're able to take questions now?
Any questions?
So, Paniora.
Isn't it obvious? So we're dealing with two separate sets of legislation. I've done my commissioner training and currently sitting on a panel. And isn't it right that the parties will require a thorough outline of what the conflict of interest was, and then he would be stood down from that anyway? So we should probably be.
He's not in it. He's not one of the ones nominated.
Oh, so what were you talking about?
Just the fact that the mayor was present while it was being discussed. That was it.
Oh, sorry, we don't have it up here, so I have no idea who is appointed. That's fine then.
Anyone else have a question? So Howard.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Paul. Are you able to advise council on status of discussions or whether there's been any discussions between the appellant and the applicant already to resolve the matter?
There has been discussions. At this particular point in time, I cannot reveal what the outcome of those was. There's a willingness to discuss matters, and council will now, if the decision goes through, council will become part of those discussions.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Paul. You can stand down. Mover's statement. Yeah, look, I'm happy. It's just a procedural matter here, in my opinion. Second statement, Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, totally agree. It is a procedural matter, but I'm delighted to hear that the parties are working together positively, proactively, by the sound of things, and that's to be encouraged. Thank you, and I hope that they come to an early resolution.
Any other elected members wish to speak?
Just for the record, I'm happy to be part of this program. I was forewarned of it, and I'm happy to assist.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent, for your support to partake in the process. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay. All right. All those in movers right to reply. So Howard. Oh, sorry, myself. Yeah. Same as what I said before. It's a procedural matter. All those in favour, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. We'll pump another couple through, eh? So closer to lunch. We're going to have lunch. Let's do another one anyway at this point.
Three road closures. Three road closures.
Yeah. Can we put them together?
Could, yep.
Okay, let's see if we can put these together if there's no objection from members.
Thank you.
For the sake of getting through our day. So welcome, Kurt. And I see Kurt, you're on all these three, so thank you if you could present them in their entirety.
Right, thank you, Worship, councillors. Still good morning. I just want to note a correction on the recommendation. The first item refers to January 24. It should be January 25. Otherwise, we'll close it before it opens, which would be unfortunate. I'll take to the items I read, but essentially these are just procedural matters, and we delegated to council to make a decision on temporary closure of roads. The first one's about the annual festival out, Northern Bass Festival. It's the 7th or 8th time, effectively from late December to early January, and the recommendation is that the roads nominated in here, Settlement Road, Batty Road and portion of Lawrence Road are closed temporarily to through traffic. The roads will be open to residents, and this is to ensure that the event in terms of traffic management is better organised, so we don't have any chaos out there, and it's done in a safer manner.
Any questions? Councillor Naya.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Kurt. I don't know how long you've been in Kaipara District Council, but having lived in Dargaville, I know at least on 2 occasions, Alliance used to do the Dargaville Christmas Parade, and they had enough of it with the regulations and the approvals coming 5 days before the event. So my question is, obviously, can we make it simpler so the people are more keen to have old events? That's the first question. Second is more on roading. Yeah. Is it possible to cut the red tape and make it more?
Through the chair, no, unfortunately not. These are prescribed in various acts and regulations, and council is required to comply with those processes. They're not prescribed by council.
Can we do it when they apply, or it has to be nearing the end of, or just before the event?
Through the chair, no, we can. The trigger for that is based on the application. So the earlier the event organisers put their application, and then the earlier we can process the application.
Okay. The second question is on this plate. It happens in the heart of the town, right? I hear it's the Victoria Street is the one better. Being a roading manager acting, would you look at the potholes? Because I actually looked at that street, is in pretty bad shape. The main street on which the people are walking, quite a few potholes there. So it'll be great if you can look at that part as well. Thank you.
Yep, through the chair, yep, we'll make sure the maintenance contractor does a pre-inspection down there and attends to any pothole before the event.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just jump in, I think it'd be worth noting, because we don't often get objections to road closures. I know you've read the agenda and it's in there. I just wanted to point out that, you know, there is an objection to the road closure for the Christmas market. I think it's important to put that in front of you. It doesn't preclude you from making a decision today about closing that road. It just needs to be taken into consideration when you make that decision. So I'm just pointing that out to you today. And Councillor Nair, just so you know, Kurt's been around in the Kaipara for many times, many years. As a matter of fact, was a previous GM of infrastructure, and
he can certainly help.
He knows the environment. And just with the northern base, it's a music festival, not a fishing festival.
There's a bit of fishing goes on.
Yeah.
So Howard, can you ask a question you have?
Yeah. Thanks, Kurt. Just on the northern base, you know, it's been going many years and there's been a lot of learnings. And so 2 simple questions to that. Are there any differences, changes to what the planning is involving for this year and from learnings that we've had in the past?
Well, through the chair, I'm not 100% sure on that, to be honest. I mean, it's the same, for a number of years, it's the same organiser. So, you know, they would have learned from that. And then whoever's doing the temporary traffic control for them, that's their routine business. So they would learn from other experience too, and hopefully would manage that appropriately. It's a hidden balance between trying to close the roads down without minimising disruption to the residents in that area.
Sorry, Councillor. So over the course of a number of years that the event's been run, we've seen a marked improvement in the way the management of that festival is operated to. And also a good indicator is the timing around road closure application too. And we've, for a number of years, worked hard with the operator, and we've got a good relationship here to get the paperwork in front of you in a timely way. It used to be quite late in the bills and quite roughshod, and it's changed completely. So I think it's fair to say that they've taken on board a lot of learnings over the last few years and do so every year. I think you recall last year it rained considerably.
It did considerably.
There'll be changes in that space there.
And I think to that, I mean, where I guess we're also referring to is that there's a huge impact in the town from the buses and the transport, and that seems to be gradually improving and better managed.
Thank you. I'm going to move this because I didn't call for a mover. Can I have a seconder?
I'll see.
Councillor,
all 3?
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Erin Wilson-Collins, did you want to make a statement?
I want to ask a question.
Question. Okay. Sorry. A question.
Just in relation to the objection that was received, I don't know, because I just don't know the process. Like you say, we don't often receive objections. And I note that the objection was for the road closure of Victoria Street on Friday night. And of course, now the road closure is Hokianga Road on Saturday morning. So have we spoken to the objectors? Are they aware of that? Do they still object? Do we know?
Yes, so through the chair, yes, as I say, you're correct. Well, the market's original application was the day before, and that was notified, and the ejection came through on that basis. When they changed the application to coincide with the Christmas parade, we have made contact with the representative of the group of objectors, and they have confirmed that the objection still stands, irrespective that it's now moved to coincide with the Christmas parade.
Okay, so their objection, sorry, just to clarify again, because their objection is talking about selling comparable products. So, and that's explained in the agenda from the applicant. Lack of preparation, lack of lighting. So that doesn't, I assume, matter anymore because it's during the day, but also lack of rubbish bins and rubbish left on the street. So have we had any discussions with the applicant about cleanup of the event afterwards?
So through the chair, look, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's council's responsibility, I guess, to make sure that the streets are clean afterwards. So if we haven't that a condition of, for them doing that, then council will need to go and clean up. I think either way, we need to go down and inspect it and make sure it's clean anyway.
Okay.
I mean, we'll try and insist in making sure the additional bins provided.
Yeah.
at the event.
And just one final, just to clarify, now that the markets have changed their day and time, it is incorporated in the road will already be closed for the Christmas parade. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, yeah, correct.
The biscuits.
Correct. Today, the common, the market was relying on the temporary traffic management provided for the Christmas parade organisation. So the closure period will be exactly the same for the Christmas parade and the market.
Okay, thank you.
No further questions? Thank you. You can stand down. Thank you. Good. Yeah, look, I'm really excited to see the Dargaville Christmas Market again. When I was first elected, I participated in the first one.
Main parade.
Christmas parade, sorry. And it was a great day, and I'm really pleased to see that come back to Dargaville. Northern Base, they do a wonderful job, sometimes under trying conditions. They were fishing in 1 year, they had so much rain. So I really pray that all these events get good weather, because it makes a huge difference, doesn't it? So that's my statement there. Councillor Nair.
None.
Second statement.
Oh, well, in terms of, I was looking at the objection and all, that is more to do with, the objection did state that if the Christmas parade is there, we're happy to support it. So literally, there's no objection. I think it's great that we are doing something, something is happening. I always love if something is happening, good, bad, or ugly, and this is necessarily good. So yeah, three hoots and go for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other elected members wish to speak on this matter? Councillor Vincent, followed by Councillor Aaron Wilson-Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just on the Dargaville market question, I note the objections, concerns. I think there is an offset, which may or may not come to pass, which is that in bringing more people to town, there are more potential through having the street market. There is the potential for more business for those other existing businesses. And I've seen other places where it has worked very positively, and it's in fact potentially complementary to existing businesses rather than straight out raw competition. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make a statement? Councillor Aaron Wilson-Collins.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy to see all of these three events. The Northern Base has been going on for such a long time, and the comments that were made previously about how hard they've worked to get their applications in and succinct is fantastic. So I wish them all the success. The Christmas parade, yeah, it's absolutely fantastic to see that going around again for another time, and I really hope the community can support that with the floats and things, so it can be a really great event for the community. For the Christmas market, like, I think this is a great idea, and the feedback that I've had from Dargaville businesses is that the Saturday morning of the Christmas parade is actually very slow and dead, because everybody's waiting to come in at lunchtime to watch the parade. So perhaps having a market on in the morning will attract people in a bit earlier, and yeah, it may mean that there is some flow-on effect for those local businesses. So if everyone gets in behind it, then I'm sure that can be a wonderful success as well, which would be really good. And my last point disappeared out of my brain. But anyway, that's fine. Yes, my last point was it's going to be a ripper of a day in Dargaville on that day, because not only do we have the Christmas market in the morning, the Christmas parade at lunchtime, we have Christmas in the gardens in the evening. So that's going to probably present some challenges for some people to plan their day and decide actually what they want to attend and what they can attend. So yeah, that's probably going to be like the most movement in Dargaville on any given day of the calendar year this year. So fantastic to community organisations to bring out the community for Christmas. Thanks.
Okay, sorry, I'm distracted here. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, movers right to reply. Yeah, look, I think, good to hear that Aaron was in Collins. I think it's going to be a great day for Dargaville. And I think, if shopkeepers embrace it and work to it, they should get a positive rather than a negative. As I think Mark's implied there. I noticed when the markets are going in Paparoa, the shops across the road do very well. So let's hope that that works for Dargaville as well. So we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour, raise their hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. What do you want to do?
Mr Mayor, are you okay if we do 4.8 and 4.9 and then have lunch? It's just that we've got
people waiting.
Staff member online, and then we do Kurt, and Kurt can go off and do spreading manager job. Great.
Okay, all right, then we'll do that before we have lunch. We'll move to, are these the same people? Okay, we'll do one. We'll do each one at a time. Okay. Road naming 4.8. Can I have a mover for that, please? That's a Howard. Can I have a seconder? Yeah, Councillor Williams, thank you. Reporting staff member is Debbie.
She's online, Mr Mayor.
Welcome, Debbie.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councillors. I'm presenting today the road naming application for Kaipara Holdings and Developments. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so good afternoon. I'm presenting the report for. Hello. Good afternoon.
Okay, so we're having some issues.
Did she cut out? Did she?
Can you hear us? We can hear
I can
you.
hear you.
Okay, go for it.
So I'm presenting today the road naming report for Kaipara Developments. Kaipara Developments. And I'm seeking your approval today for the 3 road names in Mangawhai.
Okay, any questions of Debbie? Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Debbie. You can stand down. Move a statement, Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I believe that this is relatively straightforward. I think that there has been, it appears anyway, reasonable consideration to the use of most of the names that they set on and looking at other options. And personally, I think that the 3 option ones that they've chosen sit the best. You know, I'm happy to support this.
Okay, Councillor Williams.
Thank you. Yes, I concur with Councillor Howard, and I think the process has been gone through and this is where we've landed, so I'm happy to support it.
Any other elected members wish to speak?
Just have a question to the chair.
No questions, you can speak.
Well, Kaipara Developments just rings a bell, so that's why I wanted to know what is it. Because when we are doing a few things, this name come up and there was something blacklist or something, I don't know. So I was just concerned, what is it? So needed some more information, that's the question.
So simply to do with road naming, so any other questions are outside that, I think you can ask them separately. Okay, any other members wish to speak? All right, let's go to the mover, Councillor Howard.
Nothing to add.
Okay, all those in favour, raise their hand and say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carried. Okay, we're going to, which one?
Just 4.9, Mr Mayor, if we could, for Kurt, to return.
Okay, 4.9, thank you. Mr Martin, Kurt Martin, could you present that, please? Can I have a mover for that first? Councillor Vincent, have a seconder. Councillor Howard. Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a while.
Not bad.
Humour. Again, I'm reading this and I must apologise because I picked this up during drafting and I need to find one there. And for the life of me, I can't remember which is the correct spelling, whether it's Gillon Road or Gillion Road.
It's Gillon, Gillon.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So again, the recommendation will just need to be corrected in terms of the spelling of Gillon Road, please. Right, so again, I'll take this as read. It's essentially an application from three, a joint application from three property owners who are essentially just looking to realign the roads for Gillon Road, realigning the legal boundaries of the road to coincide with where the road is currently formed. And they'll take the opportunity while they're there to request a realignment of the unformed road, which is Ball Road, that will just better align with the topography there so that if a road is ever constructed, the legal boundaries will be in the correct place. This is all done at no cost to council. The applicants are bearing all the costs for this. And in terms of net area of land ceded to the applicants versus what we get, been advised that it's to be neutral. Individually, there may be some winners and losers from the three property owners, but as a whole, the land that we were proposing to, the severances that will vest to the adjacent property owners equals pretty much a land area that they will vest to council as road reserve.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did actually put a question days ago, just wanting clarification as to, because I read the first of the agreements and then I confess I gave up, but I didn't see it explicitly indicated there, but I could have glossed over it, that there was an obligation that the severance and the other bits of Stop Road would end up being in some way amalgamated with the adjoining title, as opposed to creating the possibility of an awkward situation with this messy little bits that had their own title.
Yeah, so through the chair, so councillor, you are correct. It's clear in there. That's certainly the intention. And when we finalise the agreement, subject to council approval through the chief executive, we'll ensure that that is a condition of those agreements to be 100% clear that they will be amalgamated with the adjacent titles.
Yes, and I think that our regulatory team will, once this is through, end up processing a couple of subdivision applications as well, is my understanding. But this is just getting things tidied up. Sorry, I'm just making a statement there. Sorry.
That's all right. I'll forgive you. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
That was my only question.
All right. Thank you, Kurt. Move the state, Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm generally familiar with the area, and I've had dealings with one of these parties here over the years, and I don't think there's any reason to think of any untoward motivation in doing this. It's no cost to council, and it's one of probably squillions of corrections of realigning the physical road with the legal road, and so yeah, I'm happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Howard.
Nothing further to add.
Any other elected members wish to speak? No. Okay. Move this right to reply, Councillor Vincent.
Nothing to add, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour raise their hands. Say aye. Aye. Against. Motion carried. We'll stop for lunch and come back at 1:10. Thank you. Okay, we're reconvening this council meeting, 27th November 2024. Next on our agenda is item 4.1A, urgent decision-making over the Christmas New Year recess period. Can I have a mover of that, please? Councillor Naya, a second. Councillor Howard. Alana. Yes.
Hello, so this is a repeat report that comes to council every year, enabling you to make or to make urgent decisions over the recess period if necessary. And there was, you may recall, a report, a decision last year that was made during recess that was to appoint commissioners for the private plan 83. And that report came to the Fed Council meeting. So if there are any urgent decisions to be made over the recess period, the report, that decision will come to the first council meeting for notification. And we're asking that council appoint urgent decision making delegation, the mayor, or deputy mayor, and one other councillor. That'd be two. I'll be the mayor, deputy mayor, one other councillor. And I think there's also a recommendation in there to appoint or delegate authority to Councillor Lambert to act or to declare a state of emergency if there is one, if the mayor is able to do so.
Okay, any questions?
Just a clarification through the chair. So I think we should mention that other councillor's name as Gordon Lambert. We haven't mentioned. It's just for the emergency.
It's in
Yeah.
the recommendation.
That's only for local emergency.
Yeah.
But what about other matters? You need
The other, I haven't named the other members because we haven't actually established who's here and who's not yet, so that doesn't have to happen now.
one other councillor. It could be anyone. Okay. Thank you.
All right, anyone else want to ask a question? Okay, thank you, Alana. Move a statement, Councillor Naya.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the show must go on. So this is a process thing. And I'm delighted we have it in place. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Councillor Howard.
Nothing further to add, Your Honour.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Councillor Lambert.
Yeah, if I'm going to be stuffed with a civil defence emergency, I'm prepared to be the third one, yeah.
Okay.
Every other elected member.
You're around. Okay. I'll make a note of that. Move us right to reply, Councillor Naya.
Nothing great. Thank
Okay,
you.
all those in favour, raise your hand. Aye. Aye. Motion carried. Okay, next on our agenda is item 5.1, externally funded projects update report. Brian Hagan. Welcome, Brian, Manager of Project Delivery. Can I have a mover for that? So Naya, I'll second it. All right, thank you. Brian.
Afternoon, Mr. Mayor, elected members. Through the chair, I'm here to present the externally funded projects report for the November quarter 2024. I trust you've had an opportunity to read the report. I know Councillor Vincent has because he's picked out a mistake, so thank you for pointing that out.
That was a mistake.
So firstly, I'd like to address that on page 477, the Wharves Projects Report, in particular, Photo Wharf. So the top of page 478 starts with the mid-sentence investigation and analysis. It should read, at the start of the sentence, it should read, in June 2019, MB allocated 4,950,000 of funding from the Provincial Growth Fund, PGF, to begin the redevelopment of the Kaipara Harbour. The funding has been divided into two tranches, 950,000 for the investigation and analysis of the financial and economic benefits of a network of wharfs and $4 million for the subsequent construction and implementation of the identified opportunities. So apologies, we'll need to correct that report. I'd also like to bring to your attention on page 481, the Canal G, Ropo Canal G report. Although the report is showing the budget as green, I need to point out that we are currently dealing with a number of variations to the project cost, as well as an extension of time that's been forwarded by the contractor. This will have an impact on the budget. The full implications are currently being investigated. It's worth pointing out this is a bespoke design being constructed in a very difficult marine environment, and there are a number of details in the design have been confirmed during construction, so caused additional cost. The plan is to present a briefing to the council at the next council meeting to fully discuss the implications of those variations, and we're currently furthering our investigation to determine the exact implication for that. Any questions?
Any questions? Councillor
Chair. No, I'm looking at this report, giving the update and the project budget. In terms of spending of this budget, where do you place yourself? That you have actually did 50% projects, or?
The report states 40%, but it's probably 50% currently through. The projected completion date is now mid to end of February.
End of February this year. All of next projects are funded, the Wakinori one.
Sorry, no, not all the projects. Sorry, John, I'm just talking about Canal G.
No, I'm talking about the list at page 3 or 4. The list is generally funded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. There is a right from Kahu Valley Trail of 4.6 million to all those things. The update is based on what you have in budget. I would like to know how far we have come out with this.
There's a bit.
At some point, if we can get some update, that would be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? Thank you, Brian. Mover's statement, Councillor Nair.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, externally funded is, well, we call it free money, and sometimes we do mention about we got 30 millions from the government, so, and then we don't care about it. But at the end of the day, ratepayers are the same, whether they pay to central government or they pay to Kaipara District Council. So it's not free money. We should make use of it. The soonest is better, because this will be left to half or 75% of its value if it's not used, which we have seen in many cases. So I'm delighted if we get the project update report on a regular basis. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think it's pretty straightforward. Good to see all those projects in there that potentially happen with external funding. Any other elected members wish to speak? No, thank you. Okay, movers right to reply. Councillor Nair.
Nothing further to add, sir.
Okay, we'll put that.
One was coughing, I don't know.
Put that to the vote. All those in favour, raise their hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. 5.2, quarterly performance measures report, July to September 24. This is to be presented by CE Maris. Can I have a mover for that, please? Yeah, I'll move that. So Howard, a seconder. So Vincent, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep it short and sweet because I know you've read every last bit of it. There's a summary on page, bear with me, 520, out of the measures that we have and are reporting this quarter, bearing in mind it's the first quarter, second quarter. We've achieved 47. We've got 8 which are yellow and not achieved, only 4 at this stage. When you look at the 4, and the reasoning behind them, the water take consents, that's at 95%. We had some issues with electronic failure of the SCADA system, which caused some of that work, which we're working through that. We have discharge compliance. We've had 3 abatement notices received, 1 each for Mangawhai and Dargaville wastewater treatment plants, and Mangaturo to overflow, so we're working through that as well. And then in the pensioner housing, there are a couple there, but of course we're never going to be able to achieve them actually because it's not a zero net cost to ratepayers to run. And the annual housing occupancy rate is required to be achieved, but we are slowly not replacing people in the Mangawhai units. So very difficult to achieve those as we're going through. There's not a lot here that's causing me huge concern. at this stage. And happy to take questions, and I'll mic for friend if I need to.
Okay, any questions from staff? Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'll just come back to the discharge compliance issue from our sewage schemes. Have there been any actions taken to minimise the possibility of those being repeated?
I'll go to Matt, you want to come up here and
talk there if you like? Yeah.
Brief, yeah.
There's a theme in a couple of those which is around staff.
Actually, if you were to come up here, then you could be heard on the microphone so that the people who are avidly watching this program also hear what you have to say.
Many.
Both of them, yes.
Yes, the theme on two of those discharges for you, Mr. Chair, is staff training and new staff. So there's a revision now to how we train staff and some increased staff training for two of those discharges.
So it relates to human error rather than something, a deficiency in the technology.
Two of them do, yes.
Okay. And the third?
The third is the system. The system itself is inundated and overflows, and without considerable investment, we'll continue to do that.
Okay, that's not such good news. Okay. I guess that's all you can say. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move a statement, Councillor Howard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think that the CE has covered it well, and it's good to see all of the green and the achievements. I think that it's a good monitor for us to be able to keep up with some key elements. Obviously, the comment on the system regarding the abatement notice, the system issue is a concern, but I'll work on the basis that is being worked on, methodically. So that's it. I'm pleased to have the accuracy and the detail in this report.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent.
Oh, nothing to add, Mr. Mayor.
Any other elected members wish to speak?
I'd just like to add, through the chair, Mr. Howard's, Councillor Howard's view as well. The abatement notice is a worry to me as well. And if we can work together with NRC to mitigate that part. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Movers right to reply, Councillor Howard.
Nothing further to add, Your Honour.
Can't move to the vote. All those in favour, raise their hand, say aye. Aye. Against, motion carried. Okay, 5.3 exceptions report. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor No, can I have a second that? So Lambert. And presenting this is once again, C. Maris.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just hand over like we normally do every month to Jessie, who will take you through the financial stuff.
Thank you. In this report, I am reporting the financial section, covering the 1st of July to 31 October period. In your report, you'll see so far overall, we are $1.5 million behind where we budgeted to be at this point in the year. These results are mostly influenced by council being significantly behind on subsidy revenue, where we have 2 months worth of NZTA subsidy revenue unclaimed and the revenue unrecorded. If these claims had been submitted and we could record that revenue, we would be tracking ahead of budget. And of course, this impacts our cash flow. The other outlier in activity revenue is in the regulatory space, with income tracking under budget to date. Building consent applications are slow at the moment. PIMs are also down, and this may be a symptom of costs of building, expectation around interest rates rising, and the government signalling change to the RMA. Our capital expenditure is currently 14% complete, with 10 million spent against a total budget of 70 million. Total. Happy to take questions.
Questions? Councillor Nair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so I mean, I'm just thinking the money is available and approved and why we are delaying it. So we've got to work on that. It's a couple of $1 million or maybe more. I don't see a reason. Are we short-staffed or what is it?
Can answer that.
Yeah.
There is, a lot of it is to do with the fact NTA was restructured and disbanded. So we have to reapply for how we claim our overheads. And until that is able to be approved by NZTA, we can't make a full claim. In addition, new staff, and they don't sit inside my team.
And it'll be great if you can resolve it as soon as possible, because they will keep in mind. Yeah. And in terms of interest rate, I think you're looking for 0.5% decrease just now at 2 p.m.
The Treasury advice that we receive is that the OCR will be dropping, but inflation is so high, we're subject to pressures from the US. This is not going to be something where interest rates fall. They are predicted to rise in the next 2 years.
Okay, any further questions?
Cool.
Yes.
Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jesse, in the roading, page 6 of the actual document, and the summary of capital expenditure, roading and footpaths, 5.66 million. Now, I know that this will be raised with audit risk and finance tomorrow, but in that 5.667 million, does that include, or a majority of that, the shared path?
Yes.
So
it does.
I'm imagining that that would actually comprise the great majority of that figure.
Maybe not the great majority. I can't recall off the top of my head, but a couple of million for the Mangawhai shared path.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that it's fair that probably more of a statement than a question, but it's a matter of concern that's noted in getting that expenditure on capital items moving forward to ensure that our balance at the end of the year is minimal. Thank you, that's all.
Okay, any further questions? All right, Councillor Nair, your mover statement.
Well, nothing further to add. Thank you.
Councillor Lambeth.
No, nothing further to add. All been said, it's all in press.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Okay, put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Against, motion carried. Okay, 5.4 resolutions register update. I'll move that. Can I have a second, please?
Again.
So Howard, thank you. And presenting this item is Alana.
This is just updating the resolutions that we've made, and they get marked off once they're completed. If there's any questions, ET can respond to them.
Okay.
What I would say, Mr. Mayor, if I can, just to update you on item 5 in the resolutions register, the Kaiwaka Can, the development agreement, which has been on the register for a while. I signed that off yesterday, so that is now going to be completed.
Man.
That's going to be the spec.
Good one. Are there any further questions?
Yes, Your Honour, I did have a query on item 2, which was the Titai Takara water. I think, yep. So we get to November and we say discussions continuing. Are we able to update at all on?
I can. Well, I can in part. We'd have to move into public excluded to talk in detail.
Yep.
But there are conversations continuing with Taitokara Water Trust to see what options there are for Dargaville and the surrounds as far as water provision from the dam, as well as we're looking at the Waitua Dam option too. So discussions are continuing. We are advised that it won't be till the new year when we get some more information from them, but they are working with the central government partners as well, and this will probably be something that we'll need to work through for the annual plan, which is why that may be a little bit late.
So, Mr. CEO, do we have an anticipated time that we might have something brought back for us to discuss?
Well, I'm never hopeful that it will need to be honest with you, meeting the February briefing timeframe.
Okay.
Actually, that's what I've asked the team to work to. So
thank you.
Very hopeful for that.
Okay, any further questions? Thank you. Okay, move a statement. I'm happy to note this report. Councillor Howard, second the statement.
Absolutely nothing further to add. I think we've got it all covered.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Okay, members right to reply. I'm happy to note this report. All those in favour raise their hand, say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. Thank you. I'll move to go into PECs. Can I have a second? Okay. Councillor No, all those in favour raise their hand, go say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Second while I get second